we explore some of the most intense and surprising criminal cases. Leah Brewster, a 40-year-old woman, was recognized for her creativity and generosity. She resided in a charming home within a welcoming community in Austin, Texas. Leah was an interior designer with a sharp eye for detail, known for turning homes and businesses into stunning spaces. She held a degree in interior design from the University of Texas at Austin, where she actively participated in the Student Art Society. Beyond her skills, Leah was also known for her kindness and care. Leah frequently volunteered at local shelters, such as the Austin Animal Center, and helped organize community events. Notably, she played a major role in coordinating the annual spring fair at the local park, where families gathered for food, games, and live music. Her friends saw her as the group's heart, always arranging gatherings and ensuring everyone felt included. Leah enjoyed spending time with her close friends, frequently gathering for brunch at favorite places such as Kirby Lane Cafe. At home, Leah was the central figure who kept her family united. She was married to Bobby Dean Brewster, an accountant, and they had an 18-year-old son named Caleb. Leah and Caleb shared a special bond, frequently spending their weekends hiking in the Barton Creek Greenbelt or enjoying Marvel movies together. In the days leading up to her death, Leah was both busy and enthusiastic, as she was organizing a major community fundraiser for the local homeless shelter. Leah dedicated hours to creating posters and flyers for the fundraiser and successfully secured promotion from QDX, a local radio station. Additionally, she was eager to grow her interior design business and was in discussions with Austin Monthly, a local magazine, about featuring her work. Her future appeared promising, and she eagerly anticipated the opportunities ahead. Leah was known for her warm and generous nature, always going the extra mile to assist a friend in need or make strangers feel welcome. Her friends and family recognized her as a selfless and loving individual who consistently put others before herself. Her untimely death left a profound emptiness for those who knew her. On the morning of March 12, 2018, the normally serene neighborhood in Austin, Texas, was rocked by a shocking discovery. Around 8:30 a.m., Leah Brewster's neighbor, Liesl Gonzalez-Chan, went to deliver some homemade tamales. Liesl and Leah frequently exchanged baked goods and enjoyed morning coffee together. When Liesl arrived at Leah's front door and saw it slightly open, she thought nothing of it. She knocked and called out Leah's name, but received no reply. Worried, Liesl stepped inside and made her way through the hallway, calling for Leah. When she reached the kitchen, she was confronted with a horrifying scene. Leah lay motionless on the floor, surrounded by a pool of blood. The kitchen, typically spotless and redolent with the scent of Leah's cooking, was now in utter chaos. Liesl stood frozen in shock, her mind grappling with the unsettling sight before her. After a few moments, Liesl came to her senses and shakily reached for her phone. Her hands quivered as she dialed 911. The operator, noting her distress, tried to soothe her and asked her to describe what she had encountered. Liesl's voice trembled as she described finding her friend on the kitchen floor, unresponsive. The operator reassured her that help was on the way and advised her to wait outside until the police arrived. Moments later, sirens could be heard, and 2 police cars arrived at the scene. Officers swiftly secured the area and entered the home. Liesl, still in shock, was compassionately guided away by a kind officer who encouraged her to sit down and take deep breaths. She was given a blanket and a bottle of water as she worked to calm herself. As word of the discovery spread, neighbors gathered outside, whispering and speculating about the incident. Local news station KXAN arrived shortly after, with reporters setting up their cameras. The neighborhood was abuzz with fear and curiosity, grappling with the shock of such a tragedy in their otherwise peaceful community. First responders carefully examined Leah Brewster's body and determined that she had been stabbed multiple times with a kitchen knife, which was found next to her. The sheer brutality of the crime left everyone present deeply shocked. Still grappling with the horror she had witnessed, Liesl gave a statement to the police. She described Leah as a wonderful person and struggled to understand how such a terrible event could happen to someone so kind and loving. In the hours that followed, forensic teams arrived to begin their investigation, marking the start of a lengthy and intricate case that would reveal hidden secrets and motives. The police responded swiftly to Leah Brewster's house on the morning of March 12, 2018, following Liesl Benzalacan's urgent 911 call. Detectives Joseph Costella and Ethiel Rivera were the first to arrive. With their extensive experience and renowned investigative skills, they quickly began assessing the scene. As the officers entered the house, they were immediately confronted by the chaotic state of the kitchen. The usually orderly space was now a mess, with broken dishes scattered on the floor and blood smeared across the counters and bowls. Leah Brewster was found lying in a pool of blood on the kitchen floor, with a kitchen knife positioned nearby. The evidence of multiple stab wounds made the brutality of the attack evident. Detective Costello, a tall man with a stern demeanor, began evaluating the scene immediately. Meanwhile, Detective Rivera, known for her meticulous attention to detail, began documenting everything with her camera. They carefully examined the area around Leah's body, observing signs of a struggle. The overturned kitchen table and broken chair suggested Leah had put up a fierce struggle against her attacker. The detectives promptly called in the forensic team, who arrived soon after. Equipped with advanced tools, including DNA swabs, fingerprint dusting kits, and high-resolution cameras, the team meticulously gathered and documented evidence from the scene. The forensic team carefully collected blood samples and other potential evidence, searching for clues that might reveal the identity of the murderer. Detective Rivera observed a set of muddy footprints leading from the back door into the kitchen. She highlighted this to the forensic team, who then took detailed photographs and measurements of the footprints. The muddy footprints indicated that the killer likely entered the house through the back, possibly to evade detection. Detectives Costello and Rivera worked late into the night, carefully reviewing the evidence and strategizing their next steps. They understood that solving Leah's murder would demand a meticulous investigation and attention to every detail. The chaotic scene in Leah Brewster's kitchen presented a complex puzzle that Detectives Costello and Rivera were determined to solve, piece by piece, to deliver justice for Leah and her grieving family. The initial suspect in the investigation was Caleb Brewster, Leah and Bobby Dean's 18-year-old son. Caleb was a high school senior with a promising future. Caleb Brewster was a well-regarded student at Austin High School, admired for his basketball skills and his ambition to pursue engineering in college. His teachers praised his intelligence and commitment, and he had already received multiple scholarship offers. Despite a complicated relationship with his father, Caleb was very close to his mother. Leah was his biggest supporter, attending all his basketball games and helping him with college applications. However, there was a secret Caleb had been hiding. He was involved in a sexual relationship with this high school English teacher, Laura McMasters. Leah had only recently uncovered Caleb's relationship with Laura McMasters, which had created tension in their home. When detectives Joseph Costello and Ithiel Rivera interviewed Caleb, he seemed nervous but willing to cooperate. He confessed to the relationship with Laura, explaining that they had developed a close bond over the past year. Caleb described Laura as supportive and understanding, someone he could turn to for help with his challenges at home and school. When questioned about the night of his mother's murder, Caleb said he was studying for an exam at a friend's house. Caleb's friend Jason Kim verified his alibi, stating that they had been working on a physics project together late into the evening. Despite this, the detectives remained skeptical and pressed Caleb for additional details. As the interrogation went on, Caleb's nervousness became more apparent. Detective Rivera, known for her empathetic approach, inquired about Caleb's feelings toward his parents, particularly after Leah learned of his relationship with Laura. Caleb acknowledged that his mother had reacted strongly and that they had argued about it. He felt remorseful for the distress he caused Leah but maintained that he had no motive to harm her. Police discovered explicit text messages on Caleb's phone between him and Laura McMasters, discussing their sexual relationship and Leah's disapproval. The messages showed a strong emotional connection between them and their anxieties about the future. Caleb vented his frustration with his parents, but did not suggest any violent intentions. Despite Caleb's alibi, the police considered him a person of interest due to his relationship with Laura McMasters and the home tension, which suggested possible motives. The detectives decided to monitor Caleb closely, scrutinizing his social media and phone records for any further evidence. Caleb's friends and teachers were stunned by the news of the investigation. They described him as a bright and ambitious young man with a promising future. The community found it hard to believe that someone like Caleb could be connected to such a tragic event. The detectives were aware that appearances could be misleading and continued to examine every detail of Caleb's life in their search for answers. The second suspect in Leah Brewster's murder investigation was her husband, Bobby Dean Brewster. At 45 years old, Bobby Dean was known for his meticulous and highly organized approach to life. Bobby Dean Brewster worked as an accountant at a prominent local firm, where he was seen as reliable but somewhat reserved. While he was viewed as a devoted family man, his quiet nature sometimes made him appear distant. During his interrogation, Bobby Dean remained calm and cooperative. Bobby Dean provided a detailed account of his activities on the night of Leah's murder, stating that he had been at home, watching a basketball game on ESPN, and then went to bed early. However, his composure started to falter as detectives questioned him about his relationship with Leah. Detectives Joseph Costella and Ithiel Rivera observed signs of strain in Bobby Dean's demeanor when they brought up Leah's recent discovery of Caleb's relationship with Laura McMasters. Bobby Dean shifted in his seat and became more defensive in his responses. While he acknowledged that the situation had created tension in the family, he firmly denied any involvement in Leah's death. As the questioning progressed, it emerged that Leah had also uncovered Bobby Dean's affair with Laura McMasters. This discovery had created a major rift between Leah and Bobby Dean, adding a potential motive to the investigation. Leah's diary entries, discovered by the police, revealed her deep heartbreak and anger over her husband's betrayal. Additionally, Bobby Dean's short temper became a focus for the investigators. Though he was generally composed, friends and family noted that he could become intensely angry when provoked. Detectives Costella and Rivera inquired about Bobby Dean's temper and whether it had ever resulted in violence. Bobby Dean denied ever harming Leah, but the detectives remained skeptical. To gather additional information, the police conducted interviews with Bobby Dean's co-workers and neighbors. His co-workers described Bobby Dean as someone who kept to himself and seldom socialized. Some noted that in the weeks before Leah's murder, he appeared more stressed and distracted at work, often making errors in his typically flawless accounting records. Despite Bobby Dean's insistence on his innocence, the detectives decided to keep him under close surveillance. They continued to explore his background, searching for any additional evidence that might connect him to the crime. As the investigation progressed, Bobby Dean remained a central suspect, with his outward calm concealing potential deeper and darker motives. The police's meticulous interrogation and evidence collection were focused on uncovering the truth behind Leah Brewster's tragic death, and Bobby Dean's actions and responses during the investigation further fueled their suspicions. The third suspect in the case was Laura McMasters, a 55-year-old high school English teacher at Caleb's school. Laura was well regarded by her students and colleagues for her enthusiasm for literature and her commitment to student success. Laura often stayed late to help with assignments and was known for her empathy and approachability. During the investigation, her involvement with Caleb Brewster was revealed. Their relationship, given their age difference and her role as his teacher, became a significant scandal. Detectives Joseph Costella and Ithiel Rivera brought Laura in for questioning at the Austin Police Department. Laura arrived appearing composed but noticeably anxious. During the interrogation, she admitted to having a sexual relationship with Caleb. Laura explained that what began as offering extra help after school had swiftly turned into a sexual relationship. She described her bond with Caleb as meaningful, emphasizing her deep care for him and her desire to support him through his family difficulties. The detectives then questioned Laura about her whereabouts on the night of Leah Brewster's murder. Laura claimed she was at home grading papers and preparing lesson plans for the upcoming week. With no one else at home and no witnesses to verify her account, her lack of an alibi raised suspicions. The detectives continued to investigate further. Laura's phone records revealed numerous sexually explicit texts and photos exchanged with Caleb, particularly in the days leading up to Leah's death. The messages showed their worries about Leah discovering their relationship and the possible fallout. However, there was no direct evidence connecting Laura to the murder. Detective Rivera, employing her empathetic approach, inquired about Laura's feelings toward Leah. Laura admitted that Leah's discovery of the relationship had created considerable tension. Leah had confronted Laura in her classroom, insisting that she end the relationship with Caleb immediately. Laura described the confrontation as intense but maintained that she had no intention of harming Leah or ending the relationship. Despite her composed demeanor, the detectives felt Laura was withholding something. They conducted a search of her home, seeking any evidence that might link her to the crime. Although the search turned up no incriminating evidence, Laura remained a key suspect due to her close involvement with Caleb and the conflict with Leah. Laura's colleagues were taken aback by the news, describing her as a dedicated and caring teacher who consistently went above and beyond for her students. The revelation of Laura's sexual relationship with Caleb was hard for her colleagues to believe, and the notion that she could be involved in Leah's murder was even more shocking. As the investigation unfolded, Laura's life was thrown into turmoil. The intense scrutiny from the police, media, and community took a heavy toll on Laura. She maintained her innocence and cooperated with the authorities while dealing with the scandal's fallout. The detectives continued to monitor Laura closely, looking for any mistakes or new evidence that might reveal more about Leah Brewster's murder. On the afternoon of March 16, 2018, a breakthrough in the case emerged with the discovery of new evidence. On a warm, sunny day in Austin, the police received a call from a local gardener working in Zilker Metropolitan Park. The gardener had discovered a blood-stained glove hidden behind some bushes at the park's edge. He promptly notified the Austin Police Department, and officers arrived at the scene within minutes. Detectives Joseph Costella and Ithiel Rivera, leading the investigation, rushed to the park to examine the new evidence. The detectives carefully retrieved the glove, taking precautions to avoid contaminating any potential evidence. It was sent to the forensic lab for analysis, and the area around the park was thoroughly searched for further clues. The forensic team worked efficiently, and the results were returned later that evening. The blood on the glove was confirmed to be Leah Brewster's, and traces of another substance inside the glove were identified as potential DNA from the suspect. This discovery provided the detectives with a crucial piece of evidence that could connect someone to the crime scene, intensifying their sense of urgency in the investigation. Detective Rivera examined surveillance footage from around the park, searching for suspicious activity on the day of Leah's murder. The footage showed a figure in a dark hoodie walking quickly away from the park around the time of the murder. While the person's face was not clearly visible, the footage offered a promising lead. Further analysis of the glove's DNA revealed a match with Bobby Dean Brewster. This crucial evidence intensified the detectives' belief in his involvement in his wife's murder. With this new development, they decided to bring Bobby Dean in for further questioning. During the second interrogation, Bobby Dean's calm demeanor began to deteriorate. Confronted with the DNA evidence, he grew defensive and evasive. He was unable to offer a convincing explanation for how his DNA ended up on the blood-stained glove found near the crime scene. The detectives pressed Bobby Dean further, causing his story to unravel. Meanwhile, the forensic team continued their search for additional evidence and uncovered a partial fingerprint on the handle of the kitchen knife used in the murder. The fingerprint on the knife also matched Bobby Dean's, reinforcing the case against him. The combination of the glove, the matching DNA, and the fingerprint evidence were crucial developments in the investigation. With this substantial evidence, the detectives were now prepared to advance their case against Bobby Dean. The detectives continued to gather additional evidence as they prepared to make an arrest and seek justice for Leah Brewster. The new developments provided relief to the community, which had been on edge since Leah's tragic death. It also gave Leah's family hope that the person responsible for her murder would soon be held accountable. On March 18, 2018, with crucial evidence in hand, the police were prepared to act. Bobby Dean Brewster, 45, an accountant known for his meticulous and organized nature, had emerged as their primary suspect. While his outward life appeared orderly, he was struggling internally with jealousy and rage. The investigation revealed that Bobby Dean had learned about his son Caleb's secret relationship with Laura McMasters, which had already angered him. However, his fury escalated when Leah discovered his own affair with Laura. Consumed by jealousy and rage, Bobby Dean initially planned to confront Caleb, whom he saw as a rival in love. However, when Leah entered the room where Bobby Dean was waiting, his anger shifted toward her. In a moment of uncontrollable rage, he attacked her with a kitchen knife. The police, armed with an arrest warrant and the evidence needed, arrived at Bobby Dean's office early that morning to take him into custody. Bobby Dean was taken aback when the detectives entered his office and informed him of the charges. His calm demeanor crumbled, and he became visibly agitated. Handcuffed and surrounded by officers, he was escorted out of his office, passing by his stunned colleagues. Bobby Dean's arrest made headlines, with local news stations extensively covering the story. The community was shocked, and news of the arrest spread rapidly on social media. Leah's family experienced mixed emotions about Bobby Dean's arrest, grappling with relief and the ongoing pain of their loss. The family felt a mix of relief and devastation upon learning that the person responsible for Leah's death had been caught, especially given it was someone so close to them. Leah's sister, Samantha, expressed her grief and anger in an interview, saying she felt deeply betrayed by Bobby Dean, whom she had trusted. As Bobby Dean was taken away by the police, his reaction was one of shock and resignation. Bobby Dean didn't resist the arrest, fully aware of the strong evidence against him. The detectives transported him to the Austin Police Department, where he was booked and placed in a holding cell. The key pieces of evidence, such as the blood-stained glove with his DNA, the surveillance footage, and the partial fingerprint on the knife were instrumental in solving the case. The detectives' determined efforts ensured that Leah Brewster's killer was brought to justice. The arrest was a crucial step toward accountability for Leah's family, offering them some comfort amidst their sorrow. The community rallied around them, providing support and condolences as they began to come to terms with the tragic events. The trial of Bobby Dean Brewster started on July 10, 2018, at the Travis County Courthouse. The courtroom was filled with reporters from KVUE, the Austin American-Statesman, and other media outlets, while the community watched closely as the proceedings unfolded. The prosecution was led by District Attorney Sarah Bainedian, a 42-year-old known for her tough and tenacious approach. Bainedian meticulously presented the case against Bobby Dean, showcasing key evidence such as the blood-stained glove, the partial fingerprint on the knife, and the DNA linking him to the crime. She claimed that Bobby Dean's jealousy and rage drove him to kill his wife, Leah Brewster, in a sudden burst of anger. On the defense side, attorney Michael Grove Basato, a 50-year-old known for his composed and convincing arguments, argued that the evidence was merely circumstantial and that there was no definite motive for Bobby Dean to commit the murder. He attempted to question the reliability of the forensic evidence and proposed that another person might be responsible for Leah's death. Throughout the trial, Leah's family remained in the front row, their faces reflecting a blend of sadness and resolve. Her sister frequently wiped away tears while listening to the testimonies and evidence. The support from the community was evident, with many residents coming to the courthouse to stand by Leah's family. Caleb Brewster, now a college freshman, also attended the trial. He had to confront the painful memories of his mother's death and the shocking discovery of his father's affair with his teacher, Laura McMasters. Laura testified, acknowledging her relationships with both Bobby Dean and Caleb, but insisting she was innocent of the murder. The jury deliberated for 3 days. On July 25, 2018, the jury returned with their verdict. Bobby Dean Brewster was found guilty of second-degree murder. The courtroom fell silent as the judge announced the decision. Bobby Dean displayed little emotion, staring straight ahead as his fate was decided. During the sentencing on August 1, 2018, the judge sentenced him to 15 years in prison. The sentence received mixed reactions. Leah's family felt a measure of relief that justice had been served, though the pain of losing Leah remained fresh. Samantha hoped that Bobby Dean would take the time to reflect on his actions and the harm he had caused. The community had a similar response. Some felt the sentence was too lenient given the severity of the crime, while others thought it was fair considering Bobby Dean's previously clean record and the complex emotions at play. Bobby Dean's conviction and sentencing marked the end of a painful chapter for Leah's family and the Austin community. The trial had revealed deep wounds and hidden truths, but it also delivered a measure of justice for Leah Brewster's untimely death. Now, both the family and the community faced the difficult task of healing and moving forward from this tragedy. After the trial, life in Austin gradually returned to normal, but the impact of Leah Brewster's murder continued to resonate. Leah's family, especially her sister Samantha, faced the challenging task of rebuilding their lives. Samantha emerged as a vocal advocate for domestic violence awareness, collaborating with local organizations like Safe Austin to educate the public and support victims. Caleb Brewster, deeply affected by his mother's loss and the scandal involving his father, struggled to regain his footing. He chose to transfer to a college out of state, seeking a fresh start away from the painful memories. Caleb immersed himself in his studies in basketball, finding comfort in the sport his mother had always encouraged him to pursue. Laura McMasters continued teaching at Austin High School, Despite the scandal affecting her reputation, she endured harsh judgment from the community but remained dedicated to her work. In 2020, Laura received an award for her success in teaching students during the COVID-19 pandemic. Despite her success as a teacher, Laura continued to be shadowed by the stigma of the affair and her involvement in the case. The Brewster home, once a symbol of a happy family, remained empty for several months before being sold. The new owners, aware of the house's tragic history, aimed to restore it and bring new life to the space. They renovated the house and held a housewarming event, symbolizing a fresh start and the healing power of community support. Bobby Dean Brewster, now serving his sentence, had time to reflect on his actions. He took part in counseling and rehabilitation programs offered by the prison system, hoping to understand and atone for his crimes. His relationship with Caleb remained strained, but there was hope that time and reflection might eventually lead to reconciliation. The trial and its aftermath left a lasting impact on everyone involved. Leah Brewster's legacy continued through the positive changes in awareness and advocacy that her tragic death inspired. The community of Austin came together, supporting each other and working toward a future where such tragedies could be prevented.